Welcome to another episode of I'm Dying to Tell You. This is Dr. Mark Goulston. Well, you're going to have me to kick around for a little bit longer. I'm taking a medication, which is probably going to push out my need for something called a bone marrow transplant, which is the only treatment that can treat my condition. And so hopefully I'll be able to do more of these than I thought I had time to do. I wanted to share something with you. This will be a longish thing because I've had this revelation, and I'm calling today's episode "Don't Be a Coach, Be a Catalyst." Because something that I've noticed is the whole field of coaching is saturated. So many people are coaches that, to a certain extent, it's lost its significance. And when you talk about coaching people, and we're not talking about coaching athletes, you coach athletes in a physical skill. It doesn't have to do with their personality. Well, sometimes it does. And it doesn't have to do with their attitude. But when you're doing coaching of people in the executive coaching area, it's usually not about their competence because you're usually not competent in what they're competent in. It's in their interpersonal abilities, their ability to lead, to manage, to be able to engage others in a positive way, as opposed to driving them away because of some behaviors they have or attitudes they have. And the majority of people, probably most people in the world, could benefit from coaching in that interpersonal sphere because we can always be better, but there's still a stigma to it. A lot of people who are very successful, not because of their interpersonal abilities, but because of their technical competence, push back. They see it as a criticism. And it's probably human nature. We see this in our personal relationships. Whenever we bring up something that our partner or kids could do better in the interpersonal sphere, they almost always see it as a criticism. And so coaching is something that people need, but they don't want. On the other hand, a catalyst is something nearly everybody wants because it's not seen as critical. A catalyst is seen that you're going to assist someone getting from point A to point B and maybe even to point Z. And in my work as an executive catalyst, and you can do this with people you're working with, when I've asked people what seems to be helpful, several of them have given me this formula. So write this formula down. They feel inspired. They feel energized. They feel motivated. And they feel and are committed to taking action immediately after the call. And I mean immediately. Plus, they're taking notes. You know, they're not just nodding, they're taking notes because they want to hold on to it. Part of what inspires people and gives you the access to their motivation and their energy is that you find out where they're coming from. And I mean really coming from, because often they will give you a superficial answer about, well, I need to make certain numbers or whatever. But if you find out where they're really coming from, and one of the ways to do that is you ask them, what is most important to you? And they might say, professionally or personally? And you say, both. What is most important to you in either of those areas, or pick another area? And how did that come to be so important to you? So invite them to tell you the story of that. And again, this is something they may not have thought about consciously, but it will reveal things to them that that will motivate them from within. And then if you ask them, how's that working out? How much of your activities seem to be aligned with what's most important to you. And have that conversation. Something else to further open them up is to say, I'd like to ask you something called the impossibility question. And the impossibility question is a way to overcome people saying yes, but, or I can't do that. That's impossible. So you lead with saying to them, what would be something that would be impossible for you to do, but if you could do it, but it's impossible, would quickly accelerate your getting to living what's most important to you or being what's most important to you in your career. But it's impossible. When you do that, you're not going to get a yes, but, because you're leading with saying it's impossible. And then they'll tell you what that is. I was recently working with someone who provides professional services, and our conversation led to, well, if I could find top CEOs who are giving keynote talks, and they don't particularly love giving those talks, but they do it out of responsibility. If I could identify some of those people, and you can do that through the internet, watch some of their videos, and if you can watch some of them and see the moment when it seems to be just a responsibility or a chore, and it turns into something that delights them, where they're having fun with it, where you can tell they're enjoying it. Perhaps there's a way to reach out to them and say, I noticed that there were some places in which you really liked giving the talk. What if there was a way to have most of your talk be something that you enjoy and look forward to, as opposed to seeing it as just a responsibility? So that immediately inspired my friend and energized him, because he thought, and he teaches speaking, he thought, oh, I can see it with my eyes about how to do that. That energized him. It motivated him. In his mind, he was already thinking about ways to find those CEOs and find the ones who mainly gave a talk where they were being responsible, but that there were moments when they really seemed to enjoy themselves. And so he got motivated, and right after that, he started taking action. So give that a thought. And it turns out that to people that I work with, they see me as a catalyst, but the key is not pushing them in what they should do. Now, sometimes if you are hired by a corporation, the corporation may not care what matters to them. The corporation wants them to perform better and get better numbers and be better interpersonally. So what you can ask them after they open up to you, if you say, you're not paying for this, your company is, if we were to ask them what matters most to them, and they may say something like, well, it's the numbers. It's always the numbers. And if they said that, you could say, well, they hired me as your coach because I'm not going to help you with the technical aspects of the numbers. Apparently, you're competent enough in their eyes. They hired me so that you can become the leader that you're meant to be. So how you can be a positive factor in their company, as opposed to a negative one if you're rubbing people the wrong way. So if I were to ask your company or the CEO, or if you're talking to a CEO, the board of directors, what matters most to them that they get out of this? And if I were to ask them, why is that important? And again, you're talking to this potential uh, uh, catalyst client. They might say, well, the board said that we dodged a bullet, that because of my behavior, we almost got sued. And so that the more they go in that, and the more that you cover what matters most to them personally, and what matters most to the company that's paying the bill, and then you brainstorm with them using things like the impossibility question to open those things up. And there's other approaches. But if you see yourself as a catalyst, I think more people are going to want your assistance than if you brand yourself as a coach. So I hope that was helpful and that you can use that, and we'll be following up with some more of these episodes. And thanks again for watching them, subscribing to them, and it would really help if you could share this with other people if you think they'll find it useful. So this is Dr. Mark saying I got a little bit more time before I'm actually dying to tell you. I'm on my way, but my way may give us a little bit more time. So take care of yourselves. Be well.